Thank you for joining us for the final Community Safety and Security Live Forum for 2024, brought to you in partnership with the JCF Area 3, that's Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth divisions, and through the kind partnership sponsorship of National Self-Serve Wholesale in Maypen, Clarendon. Joining us for this holiday safety tips version of the Live Forum, protecting your home, family, and community, are our expert panelists from JCF Clarendon Division, Road Safety Education Unit, and the Jamaica Fire Brigade Clarendon Division. And we are going to get right into it. Let's bring on Constable Romaine Young. Constable Young, thank you for joining us for this final episode of our Community Safety and Security Forum.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. All right. And of course, Constable Young is joining us from the Road Safety Education Unit at the, let me get it right, Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSTEB for short. Right? All right. And we also have with us District Officer Rayon Davis from Jamaica Fire Brigade Clarendon Division. Welcome back, District Officer Davis.
Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Mrs. Winter. Good evening, Constable, and good evening to your viewers. Thanks for your invitation.
Pleasure. All right. And our Territorial Officer for Clarendon should be joining us. We trust that all is well with him. And of course, he is here with us. Knowing DSP Brown, he must be coming from another event. DSP Brown, welcome. All right, while he gets started out there, as always, we keep it interactive in this space. So feel free to share in the comments, ask your questions, and share any concerns you might have. That's why we facilitate these discussions. And share where you're tuning in from, whether you're joining us live or you're watching the replay. If you're new to this space, I am your host, Winsome Sharia Witter, and it's always a pleasure to guide these amazing discussions. DSP Brown, it seems as if there's something off with the connection. While we get that started out, let's get the discussion flowing. Let's start with you, Constable Young. We are starting off with personal safety while shopping, socializing, and traveling. So let's start with travel. What risk or threat indicators can people look for while traveling, and what practical steps can they take to protect themselves in these situations? Constable Young.
All right, so good evening again, and thank you for having me. All right, so we want to start off this evening by just talking briefly about our taxi system that we have out here and the means and ways by which our commuters they try to navigate their way through the streets of Jamaica, especially during this busy Christmas time. You know, at this time of the year, you will have a lot of illegal, or should I say, robot taxi operators out there in our space. You know, this is nothing new to Jamaican roadway. This is nothing new to our society. But you know, in times like this, in the Christmas time, when it is very much busy, to find out that they are here more out in numbers, I should say. All right. So while these illegal taxis, these robots, they provide an effective way for commuting. This is not always a safe way. Reason these operators they are not licensed and they are not insured to operate as taxi providers. Right? So we encourage commuters to travel with the prescribed taxi, they're legal taxis, taxis that are approved by law and by various authority bodies, right? These illegal taxis, they tend to behave erratic some way or in many ways. You know, they behave careless and they drive very careless. I would say because they lack the governance, right? They don't have any governing body or anybody to account to. except for cases when they're accosted by the police or transport authority, But other than that, they tend to roam the streets and do whatever they want, right? In times like this, the Christmas time, they come out as in Jamaica, we'd say they come out to hustle, right? So they flood the streets, and by doing so, yes, they provide effective taxi services because sometimes they're there, but this also, we must also bear in mind that this open a window for other criminal elements to sneak in and, to compromise the peace or your safety. Because, robot taxis, they are used for robberies, they are used for shootings, and they are used for kidnapping, so it is not, so just to emphasize that these taxis they are not safe, they are hazards and they should be avoided, but at all costs if possible. Right? To avoid these risks, we encourage persons to stay in familiar territories, travel in places that you know, and if you don't have to, please do not venture into unknown areas. And if you have to do so, please do ensure that you have someone there that is waiting for you, that will provide some level of guidance for you, someone that can show you around. And when you do have to travel, we encourage that you travel with company, right? Have someone beside or someone close by that you can reach. Do not be afraid to communicate. If you're leaving out, let someone know where you're going, right? Do not be afraid to share your location. We are living in a technology world era now, I should say. So do not be afraid to share your location and let someone know where you're going. Traveling poses a whole lot of risk in this country. The taxes are out there, the approved taxes they are there. They are the red plates, they are marked. Some of them are color coded, they have the routes displayed on them, and for the hackney carriage, they are out there. So please find approved taxi services and travel with them.
All right, those are some very practical tips shared there. All right, so let's move on over to Officer Davis, looking at socializing in those busy spaces. What are some of the risk indicators that we should look for, and what practical steps can we take to protect ourselves in these situations? Officer Davis.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Witzer. Are you hearing me clearly? Having
Yes,
some
we're
internet
hearing you. Go
issues from
right
my
ahead.
end, I think. Um, okay, great. Now, we all know how it is during this time of the year. Customers are busy shopping, getting their wares, etc. And as a member of the fire department, we want to encourage that in all cases, you should ensure that safety is a priority for you. So if you have to shop, well, obviously you're going to shop, but when you shop, always pay attention to the safety signs that are installed in these public buildings. There are exit signs, there are fire extinguisher labels, there are alarm points, and you should always pay attention to them. If there's a need where an evacuation needs to take place, by taking note where these signs are located, you are able to get to the exit as quickly as possible. And while it may be, I would say, good in a lot of persons' eyes to run to the exit, it is safer and quicker that you walk briskly out through the exit doors. You will be guaranteed your safety, because I can assure you, if you do fall, no one will stop to pick you up. Of course, many of us have to drive our personal vehicles or otherwise to these shopping centers, etc. So we encourage, and I'm sure the officer did or will do later, that you drive defensively. We don't want the death toll or the injury toll to increase. Remember, we need our officers to be always there so that we can protect you. But there are some responsibilities that you can take for yourselves. Um, in the event that you need to call the fire brigade, you must know the number for the nearest fire station to you. On the matter of partying, we advise patrons also to take note of signs such as no smoking, no naked flame. Oftentimes, due to the consumption or overconsumption of alcohol, you don't see these signs, but we recommend that you pay attention to them because they are there for a reason. And I'll just add that you consume your alcohol in a responsible way. Don't drink and drive.
All right. Sound council there. Welcome, DSP Brown. Are you hearing us now? Oh, you're still muted.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on.
All right, fantastic. All right, so let's take this question.
Welcome.
And then I have another one for you under the same personal safety while shopping. What risk or threat indicators can people look for while shopping or conducting financial transactions? And what practical steps can they take to protect themselves in these situations?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Twitter. Let me say thanks to you for being consistent in helping the JCF in promoting some of our activities. Usual Serenity Connector has been one of our very, very trusted partners. And for this, we are really, really grateful. My colleagues, Constable Young, and to our partner from the Fire Brigade, District Officer Davis. Good evening. I bring you greetings also on behalf of the Clarendon Police Division, or Senior Superintendent Shane McCullough and the management team of the Clarendon Division. I greet you well, and it's really a pleasure to be here. Of course, Christmas is a very festive time in Jamaica when most people go out just to enjoy themselves. We've kind of let our hair down that it's time to celebrate. This we want you to do, but we want you to do it with some understanding that your safety is in your hand. So whilst as the police officers, especially in the Clarendon Division, we will promise you that we're going to be out in the streets in our numbers. We have scaled down on some of our administrative duties, and you're going to see us in our numbers, especially in the town spaces. But it is instructive that citizens understand that their safety is in their hand. So whilst you go out, we ask that you go with minimal amount of cash. Always remember that it's easier, it's safer for you to use your card or banknote when doing shopping. Some persons will tell you that they prefer to walk with the cash because it's easier and it's more convenient. In some cases, it may be, but would prefer that you not do that because you make yourself into an easy target when you travel around with excess cash on your person. For instance, were they to have taken your bag, they'll go with your bag with all your cash, with your cards, with all your personal items in there. So to prevent that happening, would ask that you not walk around with excess amount of cash on you. We ask too that it's a time when the children will want to go out and do their own shopping. And so as parents, we tend to kind of give, especially our teenagers, some amount of independence. But we encourage you that while you do that, that you understand that you could very well be putting those children in harm's way. Just as you go to do your personal business, so are some of our criminals. They go out to see what they can hunt, and they will always look for easy targets. And some of those targets are usually women and children. So if your children must go and you would want to allow them to go with their friends, then you must teach them the issue of safety, that it is paramount that they be very careful as to how they go about that kind of business, because there are others out there who will mean them no good. So it starts from the very taxi that they will be taking to go to the spaces that you want to tell them to ensure that those taxis, Constable Young talk about it, that they are registered taxis, that these are drivers that you know. So you must know every step that they make. Where are they now? Who are they with? What businesses they go into. It's important because sometimes they will be drawn away by what they see on the street. So they want a particular pair of shoes, and the guy on the street is offering to sell it to them. Encourage them to go into the established business places, because if you take the chance and you buy it from the guy on the street, the guy on the street may offer to sell it to you for 15,000, but you only have 8. Already he knows that you have $8,000 on you. You don't know who that guy is going around with, and not selling you the shoes for $8,000, but he knows you have $8,000. So you could be exposing yourself to be robbed. So encourage your children to take taxis that are registered, drivers that you know, to go to the established business places to do business. And as much as is possible, parents, give them, if you have to allow them to go, allow them, teach them how to use the card, because it's safer, and it makes them into harder targets. I think I'll stop there for now, Mrs. Witter. Don't want to go on for too long.
We'll get some more in a little while, but let's turn our focus to home safety tips and fire prevention. Boy, this is a time of year where the police and the fire safety team get very busy. So let's share, Officer Davis, some of the biggest safety risks at home during the holiday season. Unmute and go ahead.
All right, thank you again. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, during this time of the year, we know that families are fully occupied with decorating and cleaning their homes, and also in heavy meal preparation. Again, we advise our Jamaicans to consider safety as your main priority. So what are we talking about? Things that you should do to keep your home safe when you're decorating. Try to avoid putting slip and trip hazards while you're cleaning. So the buckets that you have to use in your mopping, the mop sticks, etc. Try not to have them, lying around where people can easily slip and trip, and hurt themselves while doing so. Okay, if you have to use decorative lights, be sure that you don't overload the circuits. It's very important that you do so, and always consider the wattage of these things, because sometimes without you knowing, they may just be overloaded in circuits. So always consider that. Some homes use generators, but if you have to use generators, ensure that the exhaust has somewhere to go outside and is not kept inside, because you may be affected from carbon monoxide poisoning. All right. Some homes, only this week, 2 children died in a fire in Westmoreland, I think it was, because parents went away with a lighted candle, and the end of it is that 2 children died. So we advise our residents, please don't leave children unattended. If you have to use a candle, ensure the candle is not near to any flammable material like curtains, or you know what they are in your respective homes. So always practice safety. As a matter of fact, if you can, try to use rechargeable lights. Technology is so advanced these days that you don't necessarily have to use open flame to provide light. So we advise you to use some of these technological inventions to keep your home safe. for those who will be preparing meals, things like baking or cooking. There are some simple safety tips that you can do in your home. How many of us strike the matches or flick the light before we turn the stove on? It's good that's what you do, and not vice versa. You don't want to turn the gas on and then go searching for matches or what have you. Always make sure that these things are handy nearby. Strike it first to make sure it's lighted, then you turn the gas on. Other simple things like keeping the pot handles, above the range is also a good thing to keep yourself safe, right? Um, Install fire extinguishers. Yes, fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are important safety tools that can readily extinguish a fire once it's detected. So it's the best detection against a fire. Best attack against a fire is early detection. And if you are there with a fire extinguisher, be sure that you know how to use it. You can readily knock that fire down and prevent your home from being destroyed or your family members from being hurt. Also, have smoke detectors in the different rooms, not necessarily in the kitchen, because if in the kitchen, it is likely to go off very often. So we recommend that you keep it in the living room, bedrooms, and areas such as these. And again, I'll repeat that you need to know the number for the nearest fire station to you. And I'll just tell you what Maypen's fire station number is. It's 986, or let me start with the 876 first. So it's 876 986 2192. That's a landline, or 876 858 5584. Right, and you can get firefighter who is on duty will be always willing and ready to assist when needed. So that's it for the moment. Um,
Okay. What
you can
about
have the microphone.
break-ins? How can families prepare their homes to prevent break-ins? Any special systems that they can put in place from fire safety end?
Well, I think that more has to do with security, but it also affects fire safety because
Yes.
many homeowners, they install the grills, and these grills, they have a number of locks on them, and when it's time to evacuate, they don't know which key to pull the lock, and this may trap them inside, and that's a safety hazard right there. So the recommendation going forward is to ensure that you don't have too many keys on a bunch, and ensure that those keys are labeled. Once they're labeled, you can readily identify the locks and pull them so that you can quickly evacuate. But were I to be the security member, he would tell you that install your grills so that you can protect yourself from burglars entering. And
All right.
installing alarms is another way to protect yourself as well, because culprits like easy targets. And once you have these things, cameras, alert systems, it will keep them away from your home.
All right. And get you one of those dogs that will alert you to anyone trying to break in, right?
There you
All right.
go. There you go. Absolutely. Trusted friend
All,
like our,
all right. Before we
own.
before we move over to safe road usage, uh, in while is there any special safety tip that you have to share in terms of entertaining? You have a number of visitors over for the holidays, especially on Boxing Day, Christmas Day. You have visitors over for those get-togethers. Any other tips where that is concerned?
Well, well, sometimes you may be entertaining guests, friends over, and you may have a little party. So safety again, ensure that extension cords are not run across the floor. That's one thing that you should avoid, because these things can also become, trip hazards. Um, Things like making sure that the if you have to use electricity again, because oftentimes these are the normal suspects of what may cause a fire, overloading of the circuit, or some kind of breakage in the circuit may cause a fire. So we want you to ensure that you keep these areas protected. Don't overload the circuits. Um, if you have to use chargeable devices, ensure that they are not plugged in for very long, etc., etc.
All right, thank you for that. All right, let's turn our focus to safe road usage. Wow, the figures have been so high for this year. We still have a number of days to go yet. So, Constable Young, tell us, what are the key safety precautions for drivers and pedestrians during the busy holiday seasons?
All right. Yes, so it is. Yes, the figures are alarmingly high. It's been so for the past, I would should say, 10 years, and we're trying our best, to get these figures down. But it's a work in progress, and with the upcoming holiday, we're expecting an increase in these figures. But we will try our best to get those figures down. And this, thanks for again for this podium. We can share some safety tips, and hopefully it will fall on some ears. So we will start with some tips for the motorists. We always encourage motorists to use your seatbelt. It is in the vehicle for a reason, and seatbelt saves lives. Statistics have shown that you're 10 times more likely to stay alive whenever there's an accident if you're wearing your seatbelt, if you're rather than when you're not wearing it. For the motorcyclists and the cyclists, we encourage that you wear your helmet, your protective helmet. And they have recommended helmets, certified helmets, ISO 9001 certified helmets. So we encourage that you get those helmets and wear them. All right, for those who are traveling with children, we recommend that they use appropriate child restraint system in your vehicle, and also for toddlers, you use the proper restraining system for them also. Mr. Davis, he mentioned, so I'm going to repeat now, so that will emphasize the importance of this point. Do not operate a motor vehicle while you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol. This holiday season, it is called for a lot of celebration and a lot of activities where alcohol will be a main course. So we encourage you not to operate a motor vehicle while under the influence, right? Under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or even if you're sleep deprived, right? Avoid all sort of distractions while you're driving. Um, Distractions will affect the way you operate and the way you control a motor vehicle. We break down distractions. We have three categories in which we break down distractions. You have the visual distraction. These are things that will take your eyes off the steering. For example, looking at your GPS, or check who is calling your phone in case you're getting a phone call. Then you have manual distractions. This involves you taking your hands off the steering wheel, either to eat something or to drink something, or to attend to something that's going on in the car. Manual distraction. And then you have the cognitive distraction. These distractions occur when you take your mind. There's a lapse in your concentration. Is either the result of stress or something that's bothering you, a thought, a pop-up thought, or a lingering thought, things like those that can cause some level of distraction. So we want you to avoid all sorts of distractions while you're driving. Your loud music is also a distraction, and you don't know, it will affect your hearing, and hearing is a very important part of driving. You must be able to hear what is happening around you just as much as you must be able to see. And we encourage that you drive within your speed limit. All right, and not only drive within the speed limit, but travel at a correct speed. I know, how do you travel at the correct speed? The correct speed, it will be depending on the level of traffic or the volume of traffic that is present on the road. It will have to do with the road itself. Our road condition is I would say, crisis at the moment, so you have to take that into account. It has to do with hazards that are present on the road, such hazards that will affect your visibility, and also your vehicle and the ability of the driver. Those things take into account how you will the speed at which you travel. And when I say the ability of the driver, it is not to step on anybody's car, but it's for people to check themselves and be true to their own self. All right. Also, when driving, sometimes overtaking is necessary, but there are three questions I would say you should ask yourself before you overtake. You must overtake in areas where it is safe to do so. So you're going to ask yourself, is it safe for me to overtake? Do I need to overtake? Or am I in a hurry? If I don't overtake this vehicle, will I still reach where I'm going? You ask yourself things like those. You want to ensure safety whenever you try to do the overtake maneuver, right? You're driving, you look out for pedestrians and you look out for the pedestrians, so that will include children and the elderly, right? Driving, uh, it's a very complex task. Let's put it that way. So we, us as road safety professionals, we coin something that we say you should always try to create situational awareness, right? And that is basically defined. This involves gathering and interpreting and using relevant information around you to make sense of what is happening around you, right? So that you are able to predict your environment and make intelligent decisions and stay in control of your vehicle as long as you are sitting behind that steering, right? And also, one final tip for the motorists: unless it is necessary, do not brake suddenly. Right? Do not brake suddenly or stop suddenly when you're traveling on highways or main roads. Roads that tend to carry large volume of traffic, and especially when traffic may tend to move at a higher speed. Right? All right. So for the pedestrians now, these are the vulnerable category of road users. So, we always encourage the pedestrians. Well, not the number one in this case, but one of the main rules for the pedestrian is to always walk on the sidewalk if there is one. If there is no sidewalk, you can find yourself on a road banking. No sidewalk, no road banking. You walk on the right hand side of the road so as to face the oncoming traffic. Right, you don't want to turn your back to the vehicle. So you walk on the right hand side so that the vehicle that will be passing closer to you, we call it oncoming traffic, you'll be able to see that, right? Avoid the noise canceling devices that people use. The headphones, the earbuds. You play music in these devices at high volume. We encourage that you cut out those practices, right? All right, cross the road. If you have to cross the road at designated crossing areas, you have the pedestrian crossing, the overhead crossing bridge, and at the traffic light. When the light is on red, it is the recommended time or the appointed time for the pedestrians to cross the road. Right? It's not about stepping out on the road at any time you feel like. You find the designated areas. If you have to walk at nights, we ask that you increase your visibility. This, you can do this by walking in with a flashlight. A flashlight, yes, not your phone light, your flashlight. You want to make yourself visible, right? And you can also wear light and bright colored clothing. Light, the most recommended color would be white. You can have other light colors, the yellow, the orange, the blue, the green. Colors like those, and you tend to avoid the dark colors like the brown, the red, the black, and purple colors like those. And for those of you who have children, always remember and ensure that your children, as much as you can, ensure that your children do not play on or near the roadway. Adults now do not run across the road or to step out across the road like that, because remember that this, especially in a season like this, it is a season where things are more likely to happen to you, because of the high concentration of people on the roadway and the busyness of the thoroughfare. All right, and ensure that if you have any children, ensure that they are under supervision and ensure that they obey all the instructions that are given to them.
Indeed. And place the children on the inside when you're walking.
Yes.
It's so boy,
Yes,
it's
and hold on to their
irritating.
hands. Yes, of course, hold
Yes.
on to their hands.
Adults on the phone while the children are navigating the busy thoroughfare, all unconcerned. All right, so we're going to be mindful of that. All right, what advice do you have for ensuring vehicles are roadworthy for holiday travel? We're doing some longer distances sometimes during the holidays.
All right. It is very important that the vehicle that you're traveling, that you try every effort that you can to keep your vehicle safe. All right. So to keep your vehicle roadworthy, there are we have certain documents that are required. So I'll start off with the documents. You have your certificate of fitness, which is very important, your registration certificate, and your insurance. You have to make sure that all those documents are up to date. Your license vehicle is properly affixed and not obscured. It can be seen by the police if the police should stop you, and your registration plate. Same thing you call a license plate. Try as best as you can not to alter that registration plate. Do not cover that plate or do not tilt that plate so as to make it obscure or hard to read by the police. Right? You know, um, Whenever you have to drive long or short distance, you know that you have to ensure that the vehicle that you choose to drive is very safe. So we recommend daily and routine maintenance of those vehicles, right? It's nothing hard. It's not mechanic work that you have to do. It's just basic checks. So you can check your engine oil, your transmission oil if there's a dipstick available, your power steering fluid, your brake fluid. It's not hard. All those reservoirs, they are labeled inside the bonnet. So you just fly the bonnet and you check them to ensure that there is sufficient fluids in those reservoirs. You check your radiator. You check your radiator cap to make sure that it's not worn or damaged. You can also check the radiator itself to ensure that there is adequate liquid in the radiator. You check your horn, check your lights, your headlights, your brake lights, your park light. By checking the brake light, you automatically checking your brake to ensure that there is enough brake on the vehicle to carry you to your location and possible back. You check your windscreen wipers and you walk around the vehicle. You check your tires, you check your spares, you check your tools if you have any. Also inside the bonnet, you can check your belts, your hoses. When you touch it, when you feel any hose at all in the bonnet, it's supposed to have a soft and mushy feeling, not a hard, crisp feeling. That is cause for concern. So you ensure that your belt have a soft and mushy feeling, right? You check any instruments, any gauges. Pay attention to any light that come up in your dashboard. Especially the warning signs. And also you pay attention to any sound that you hear in your vehicle. That is the vehicle's way of warning you that there is something going on. So you should always ensure that you check out any form of sound that you hear on your vehicle.
All right. You are welcome, Dr. Level. Thank you for joining us. All right. You mentioned in terms of the fitness and registration. Now, with all the fancy gadgets where you're able to scan the decal and get the information at your fingertips, is it still mandatory to have those documents in your vehicle?
Yes, it is. It is very much mandatory to have those documents with you. Until there is any legislation or anything provided that says otherwise, you should have them. And because for the most part, failing to provide these documents will amount to an offense under the Road Traffic Act. We don't want to. We want to stay away from that as much as possible.
All right, thank you for that. How does practicing safe road habits contribute to protecting families and communities during the holidays? People might be wondering, what's the connection?
All right. Safe road habits, right? It's not just something that you just go out there, take it for granted. It is something that is much bigger and larger. It's form a whole part of your safety overall, believe it or not, because on the road is somewhere where you are most vulnerable, right? And being safe in the community, it is very important that you're able to be safe in your community. It's not just on the road. Well, your safety, I would say, it starts within your community. Whether you're walking on the road, you're walking to the shop, you're walking to the church, you're walking to visit your neighbor, it is very important that you are able to stay safe in your community, right? So we encourage persons to practice all those road safety tips that you're here for the pedestrians. You practice them because we want safety to become not just a word, but we want it to be your lifestyle, something that is second nature, right? Something that you do without even thinking about it, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Right. What initiatives or actions can families take to promote road safety awareness within their communities? Because we're all in this together. So share with us.
All right. I think ways and means to get community members, and by if we should conquer this thing one community at a time, I think soon and very soon we will not only have a few safe communities in Jamaica, but an entire nation that practice safety. So a few initiatives, most they're out there already, and we just want people to participate in them. You have the neighborhood watch, right? The neighborhood watch is a very important uh, body, or should I say syndicate, in any community, right? You can use the neighborhood watch to promote safety, or you can form your community slash citizens association where you share safety tips, and you preach safety on a whole. um, Community leaders, you can keep meetings and you invite other participants, or other community leaders, or leaders from other communities, I should say. You involve the police, right? You engage with the stakeholders. So any business or corporation, any member of corporate that have an interest in safety, you invite them to these meetings, and you allow them to give certain talks, and you share certain tips, and if possible you give them incentives, right? Recommend that you always keep a close relationship with the police, right? Keeping a close relationship with the police it's guaranteed to do more good to you, and very, or should I say, no harm at all, right? In your community, ensure you bond as a group, and you create some signs, put up the signs, paint up the walls. We love our children, drive careful, put in speed bumps for your Labor Day project. You have your sidewalks, you paint up your sidewalks so they are visible, right? So that children can see them. And also keep your community clean. It's very important that you keep your community. You might be wondering how key a clean community might be a part of safety. But you'll be surprised. Keep your community clean, and most importantly, the one that I like to share, the one that I emphasize on, is education. If you can educate your community, your children, teach them about road safety. The children, they are very, I would say, inquisitive at this time. They have quick minds and they're eager to learn. So you teach them. You don't talk to them in language that you think they might understand at the age. But instead, you talk to them in the right language and you tell them the right thing, and they will understand. Believe me, they will understand. So I emphasize on education, safety education, road safety education.
Right, fantastic. Let's bring DSP Brown back into the conversation. DSP Brown, let's take it to protecting families and children. Online shopping and digital safety, big one. What are some signs of online scams, and how can families shop safely online during the holidays? Sir Brown. We're not hearing you. Still not hearing you, Sir Brown. might have to exit and return. While we are no, still nothing. Leave the studio and come back, Sir Brown. All right. Constable Young, let's continue until Sir Brown gets back to us. Child safety in holiday crowds. What proactive steps can parents take to prevent children from getting lost or abducted during the busy holiday events?
All right. So child safety in the what we recommend for the parents is that you plan your trips, right? Plan your trips. If don't go out and what we say freestyle, but take the time out to plan your trips, especially if you know you have to take your child with our children with you. You don't want to have them walking up and down in the busy town areas to, just for you to check if you want something here and it's not there. So you plan whatever store you're going to and you stick to that plan, right? Also, you plan your route that you're going to take, especially if you're going to have to take a public passenger vehicle. And whenever you reach in the town areas, you plan the route that you're going to walk. Some streets, some avenues, some lanes, they have more congestion than some due to vending or due to some parking issues or whatever reason that may be. So you have some areas that are more congested than some, so you want to plan your route and avoid those areas as much as possible. Something that I mentioned earlier, that you have to practice to hold your children hands when you're walking with them. If it's a case that you're going to travel with luggage or goods, you have to ensure that some way, somehow, that child is holding on to either the bag with the goods or holding on to some part of your garment. It is very important that children are not left alone in these busy areas. And another thing that you can do is communicate with the child and create a safe rendezvous point. So let's say, for example, you say to the child, if for whatever reason you may lose sight of me or you get lost, find your way to that location and you stand there and you wait for me. And if I don't see you, I will head to that location and that is where I wait for you. You ensure that your child know the nearest police station or some important building that can be used as a landmark where they can go and wait for you. So you can say to the child, meet me here or stand here and wait for me. Right? Ensure that your child know your phone number. I will not recommend that you give your child or children a phone to walk with, especially at this time, because you don't want to make them in the form of target to those unscrupulous minds. So you ensure that they know your phone number, so if they can always get a call and share their location. Create a code with this child, with your child or with your children, with terms or words in which when spoken it's only familiar with you and them. So it will ensure some level of safety right then and there.
Fantastic. Any other safety conversations parents should be having with the children before they head out to these
Yes, yes, of
engagements?
course, yes, of course. When you head out into those spaces, focusing in now and this time of the year, you know, like I mentioned, a lot of unscrupulous minds, they come about and they're thinking of conniving and very tricky ways to lure, especially children, into whatever trap that they have. So they offer them whatever it is. They offer them sweets. When the parents might not be looking, they find somewhere to get their attention. So you want to say to your child that you stay focused on me, right? You want to get your child to be aware, something that is very important. And I think if we do this more often, we have less of these instances where you need to get your child to focus or pay attention to his or her safety. Allow them to know that they are not beyond being taken away or being placed in danger. Let them know that they are not immortal, right? And things can happen. Like the wise mind once said, anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah.
So you want them to know that they're not immune to any form of danger, any form of attack. You want to let them to know that this is a busy season, a lot of things are happening, and one of the best ways in which you can ensure that they learn is to use real life scenarios. So you get them to watch the news, you get them to listen to, you have the social media. So whenever there is anything, any missing person report, you bring those things to their attention. Not to scare them, but just to show them that this is real. You want to get that. You want them to get that feeling that this is real and things can happen.
All right. And that's an effective way of helping them to recognize and avoid the risky situations, right? With practicality. Any other ways in which parents can teach the children how to recognize and avoid these risky situations? Any other
Oh yeah,
practical ways?
like I said, yeah, the more you can bring it home to them, the more they can make it, the more you can make it seem real to them. You want to emphasize
Okay.
on the realness of it.
Awesome. All right. Inspector Wallace is reminding us that it's always helpful when children know their parents' names, address, and telephone number. All
Very good.
right. And Dr. Levelle was sharing from earlier that we must learn to drive for others and not just for ourselves. Lots of bad drivers out there. All right. We'll take your question in a little while, Dr. Levelle. Let's bring in DSP Brown. DSP Brown, let's hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry.
All right.
I'm having
You're
a little
back.
bit of technical issues here. I have to be changing
That's
from
all
one
right.
device to the other. It's a very
It's good when you have more
important
than
point that
one.
you're. Yes, yes. Back up.
Right.
It's a very important point that you raised earlier in terms of the internet and the offers that it presents. Um, Only recently we heard our banks cautioning their customers in terms of how they respond to certain kind of emails. Whilst I'll not get into the technical aspects of it, requiring a certain amount of expertise, I'll just say once you suspect a mail, then do not click on it. Avoid exposing yourself. So we ask that if you have any doubt, that you call your institution, call your bank to verify. Only recently there was a WhatsApp message going out saying that the Prime Minister was offering $85,000 to Jamaican, and some persons fell prey thinking that it was legitimate. So when you see these emails or these WhatsApp messages, once there is any doubt, once there is any suspicion, just call a reliable source to verify whether or not this is true. And before you click, because once you click, you have given these fishers, may I refer to them as such, or these thieves, you have given them access to your information, and they will use this to create fraud or to access your funds, and before you know it, everything is gone. So we ask persons to be very, very careful. Don't be quick to click on these suspicious mails. Wait a bit, ask somebody, call your bank before you do so. And this is going to be more prevalent in this season than at any other time, as we said earlier, that just as you go out, set out to do your legitimate business, so are these guys in their corners, wherever they are. Once there is, all they need is just internet access. So once they have internet access, then they go at it to see how it is that they can prey on what you have. They feel they have a right to it, whether it's local or international. They feel nothing is wrong with that. They'll just take it from you and they go spend it. So you have got to make yourself into a very hard target by not doing something. If you don't click on it, then they don't have any access to you. When you get these phone calls, don't answer them. Or if you do, don't give them any information. The bank will tell you that they will never call you on the telephone and ask you for personal information. So once somebody start doing that, then you become suspicious and you just hang that phone up. Once you see the link, then you just delete it. Do not click on it, delete it. You didn't put any money down. You're not going to be so lucky you're getting 25, $30 million just like that. something funny about it, something suspicious about it, leave it up, leave it alone.
All right. Sound counsel. All right. So, and we are going to continue to offer some more practical takeaways for our viewers. Let's start with personalized holiday safety. Let's bring Officer Davis back into the conversation. Can you share any real life example of how simple safety practices save someone from harm and what lessons we can learn? Officer Davis, then we're going to road safety with Constable Young, and then DSP Brown, you'll round that out, sharing some real life examples of how simple safety practices save someone from harm and what lessons we can learn from each situation. Officer Brown, Davis rather. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, could you repeat? I think I got some buffering earlier.
Share with us, yeah, share with us a real life example of how simple safety practices save someone from harm and what lessons we can learn from that situation.
Well, we all know of cases, or rather, let me say, we've heard of cases where, in the kitchen, for example, I was sharing earlier that simple things such as striking the match before you turn the stove on is one very simple example that we can implement to encourage or to continue doing things safe. There was an incident long ago where a young child was burned very severely because the gas was left on, and just by striking that match, she got severely hurt. So the recommendations are going forward that you practice these things at home. Ensure that you strike the match before you rather turn the stove on, and if at all possible, keep your cylinders on the outside. If it is at all possible, keep your cylinders on the outside, protected of course, because we don't want you to lose them. But if it's possible, keep them outside. In the kitchen, there can be a serious risk towards it. It's even worse to have your cylinder locked underneath your cupboard below your kitchen counter. That's the worst thing to ever do. So we recommend that you think about safety, personal safety, home safety. Ensure that there's a fire extinguisher. Know the number for calling the fire brigade that is nearest to you. Have smoke detectors installed, and talk to your children about the dangers of fire. And these can go a long way to protect yourself, your children, and your community.
All right. Constable Young?
Yes.
All right. Share with us a real life example of how a simple safety practice saves someone from harm and what lessons we can learn from that situation.
All right. As it relates to road safety, I would say that the simpler the practice is, the more effective it becomes. For example, driving and wearing your seatbelt. Something that I like to say whenever I am doing these road safety presentations, that we should all remember that the road is a danger zone, and it should always be treated as such. Do not take for granted what might or might not happen when you're out there on the road, because accidents are oftentimes beyond our control, and it is all most times as a result of human errors. Errors that occur which we may not have enough time to correct, so that will lead to accidents. So a simple thing, as staying alert. And what does, as I mentioned, by creating the situational awareness, so it comes back into staying alert. You have to listen, actively listening and observe. Keen observation, that forms a a huge part of you staying alert and at all times. Simple things like being kind when you're out there on the road. There is nothing wrong with being kind when you're out there. Sharing the road space with somebody else. Remember that you're driving to save your own life and also the lives of your
Other
fellow
road
brother
users.
and your sister that you're out there on the road with. Also try to empathize with those who are out there. You may not know what it is that someone out there is going through. You drive past somebody, it's nothing wrong for you to toot your horn, and share a helping hand when you can. Obey the road signs that are out there. They're out there for reasons. Is that whether it be a warning sign, a regulatory sign, or just a sign giving some information. We encourage you to obey those signs. And when you're driving out there, I can tell you that if you have to drive a long distance, you should get somebody to share the driving with. Driving, especially when you're fatigued or any form of stress, it's not
Can be
recommended.
tiresome.
Can bring some kind of harm to yourself, and that is what we want to avoid. So
It's true.
you share the driving if possible, or you can have someone just to keep you company, not to engage in any
Absolutely.
distracting conversation, but just to keep you company. Ensure that your vehicle is roadworthy. I just mentioned points how to do that. And yes, there's another a checklist here that I have but I'll get back to that after. That I can share with you in terms of assessing yourself before you drive.
All right, fantastic. So, DSP Brown, any specific
Sure,
real life example of how simple safety practices save someone from harm?
sure. So we are in the festive season, and it's the season for bling. That a person's will want to bling out, and they put on
True.
their jewelry, whether it's real or it's fake. It looks attractive to you. It will look attractive to someone else too. And there are those who will find it attractive to the extent that they will want to take it from you. So we encourage you, if you are going to be dressing and wearing a lot of you know jewelry, that you choose your space. There are some persons who will want to rob you of that. We have said in some of our town spaces, jewelry is like having an ABM card, and persons will buy it from you that quickly. And so it's very attractive to people. They'll want to take it away. Careful too of the expensive gadgets that you carry, the cell phones. Some of these gadgets value thousands of dollars, upwards of $200,000. And so if a guy picks your phone from you, it's worth taking because he carries it somewhere and he gets cash quick, 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 quick. So we encourage you to go light on the jewelry or pick your spot where you'll be wearing them. If you have your expensive gadgets, that you not take them out anywhere, as persons will want to take them, will deprive you of your valued possession. And finally, it's also the season when we celebrate, when we will be partying. Pick your space where you go to party. There are some space that are right now under curfew, some space that are prohibited, as the likeliness for gang warfare or for attacks to happen there is very high. So we ask that you be very careful where it is that you go for recreation, that you socialize with persons you can trust. You don't have to be having eyes all over your bodies looking out who is going to be attacking, where is the attack going to be coming from. So at least you're among persons who are trusted friends. And I just want to piggyback quickly on a point that Constable Young made in terms of the accidents on our roads. That a lot of our accidents are caused by persons who are influenced by alcohol. So they go to these parties and they just drink. There's no designated driver. So when they are going home, everybody is intoxicated. And so our accidents, he will agree that we have an increase, especially at this time of the year. So I want to ask you that you pick your spot where you go for recreation. Ensure that there is a designated driver, one person who does not drink any at all. You don't want any form of impaired vision or your ability to be in full control of that vehicle. So again, the wearing of jewelry, be very careful where you wear it. You're carrying up gadgets, expensive gadgets, and where you go for recreation. Just make sure that you are safe.
All right. And I think Inspector Wallace's point here is very relevant. When any element is missing from the crime triangle, a crime will not happen. Because if we don't have that bling, it will not attract those who are in search of
That's
the
right.
bling, right? All right. So if you could give one essential safety tip to every family, what would that be? Constable Young,
Stay
or
alert.
you have too many?
All the time. Stay alert.
All right. And why should they stay alert?
It's not. It's not something that we can overemphasize. It's not. Staying alert that will save a life in so many ways. So many ways.
Right. Because it only takes that split second for an accident to happen,
Yes.
right?
And the minute you lapse in concentration, then that is the time you allow for something to sneak in.
Indeed. Officer Davis, one essential safety tip.
One essential safety tip, I would say practice personal safety at all times. If
Okay.
everybody gets into the habit of practicing their personal safety, then we'll have a safer country.
Okay. DSP Brown?
You take nothing for granted. If it looks too good to be true, it may very well be that it's not true. So check it out at all times. Don't take anything for granted.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's wrap up with the road safety and then the police side of the story. Constable Brown, go ahead and share with us that list checklist that you have there, steps the audience can take to ensure a
Yo,
safer, more secure holiday season for everyone.
yes. Thank you. So as to ensure that I don't leave here without sharing the information that I have to give. It is the I am safe checklist, and that I am safe is going to be an acronym. The I is for illness. These are it's a checklist, a personal checklist. So you have to ask yourself, am I suffering from any illness at the moment that will affect the way how I drive this vehicle? Attitude. You have to check your attitude. How do I feel about this journey? Do I want to do this journey? Am I driving now because I am forced? Am I going somewhere that I don't want to go, or is my mind telling me not to go? The attitude that you have towards driving. Medication. You have to make sure that you're not any form of medication. For example, you have terrible sinus and you have to take any sinus medication in order that induce sleeping. So that will lead me to my next point. Sleeping, you have to check your sleeping if you're able to operate a motor vehicle. And also alcohol. This is my third time mentioning that point. Mr. Davis and DSP Brown, they also mention it. So the importance of this cannot be overemphasized. Alcohol, you do not want to drive under the influence of any form of alcohol or drugs. So if you have to drink, don't drive, and if you drive, don't drink. Just to finish, you have food. I ask yourself the question: am I hungry? Am I thirsty? You don't want blood sugar levels or dehydration to affect your operation of the vehicle. And finally, emotions. You have to check your emotions while you're driving. Because the minute you sit behind that steering wheel, all type of emotion will come running in at any given point. That so you don't want to drive under any unnecessary stress, which will cause cognitive distractions, like I mentioned. So you want to ensure that you complete this checklist. And I would say if you take even one of these items, it is enough reason for you not to sit behind a steering wheel.
I love that. I am safe. Very easy to remember. All right. All right. DSP Brown, let's Before you share the steps that the audience can take to ensure a safer, more secure holiday season for everyone, there's a question here from Dr. Lavelle. This was shared in the local governance and community development forum, but I'm sure you will have some response here. What roads in Mapen Town will be closed for holiday shopping?
Yes, some of the spaces will be closed off. The usual Sevens Road, that's between the clock going up towards Central High. That space will be closed off and will be allowed. I think maybe one way for to allow some space for vending. That I know for sure. I'm not certain of the other roads that will be closed off. But if and when I get that information, I'll be happy to pass it on for others to know. But be very observant when you come into the space, because if we have to close off a road, then we will use some form of signals for you to know, so you will not be surprised at all. But it's a collaborative effort that involves the municipal council and the police. So as I said, proper signage will be there for guidance.
All right. Before you move on, just to add, in terms, I'm not aware of any road being closed currently. The information shared through the municipal corporation is that Muir Park, a section that's walled to the primary school, that section is allowed, vending is allowed for the duration of the period. The date is there. You can quickly go on over to the blog on the Sorrento Resource Connector website, and it was shared. It gives you the areas. So it's Muir Park and the old police station, and there's another area that's been looked at that will be shared as well. But you can check the blog for those specific areas, Dr. Lavelle. But right now, none of the roads are closed, just sections designated for vending.
Yes.
All right. And as we wrap up this, V. Brown, go ahead and share with the audience steps they can take to ensure a safer, more secure holiday season for everyone.
All right. Again, we really want to ensure that you enjoy this festive season. As I said earlier, the police will be out in their numbers to give some form of reassurance as you go out there to do business. The space is going to be much more crowded than it usually is. Persons are going to be carrying their children out, and so the possibility for a child to get lost is there. If it happens, please tell the child to find one of the police officers. You will see an officer in this space. Once they go to that officer, then we say to the parents, go to the Mapen police station. So the child is usually taken there, where the child will stay safe until the parents get there. If you have to, again, do your shopping in this space. I may be reiterating, but the idea of carrying of cash, we want to discourage that. We want to discourage that because we have had too many issues of persons losing their cash. Once you go in, for instance, if you're going to the market to purchase some items, don't go with a bag of cash to purchase a piece of yam or some sorrel. Carry the amount that you will need to do the purchasing, so you don't come up with $25,000 to take out $550 to buy something. Already you are saying to persons that you have certain amount of cash on you, and so you have exposed yourself. So just put your cash, if you have to carry it, put it at a spot where it is safe, where everybody doesn't know that you have it. Take out only that which you will need, so persons have not a clue what you're carrying on you. Again, this space is going to be very, very, very hectic, very, very busy. If you don't have to, and this is a simple one, Mrs. Witter, if you don't have to come, especially into the township of Mayfen, then please stay home. Don't just come to see what's happening, because you're going to make the space even more crowded than it ought to be, and it becomes even more challenging for us as police officers. So we want to make it safe for everybody. If you can too, then pool, carpool. So for instance, 6, 7 of you are coming from his, for instance, then carpool. So everybody doesn't drive because there won't be adequate space in the town to park everybody. So you're going to have serious challenge. And if you have that designated driver, so some go and shop, whilst the driver may just keep roving until you are ready. Then he'll pick you up because there will not be adequate spacing in the town to host everybody should everybody drive. Those are some of the simple points that we just wanted to follow. So as you enjoy your Christmas season, we just want to wish you all the best and stay safe. Remember that the officers are here. Just give us a call. We'll be more than willing to assist you in doing your business.
Fantastic. So there you have it. We got road safety, fire safety, personal safety, financial, online, and a nice combination to keep you safe for the holidays. Protect your family, your homes, and your community, because we're all in this together. Thank you so much, DSP Owen Brown, our Territorial Officer, Clarendon Division, Constable Romaine Young, or Road Safety Education Unit representative, as well as District Officer Rayon Davis from the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Clarendon Division. Thank you so much for sharing space with us here on this final episode of Community Safety and Security for 2024. Can't believe it's been 12 months already. All right. Thank you again for sharing, and for all the other officers and community representatives and the experts that pass through this space. We can't thank you enough for helping to make our citizens more informed and creating even safer communities as we go along. Thank you for those who have been journeying with us since January or about February. I think we did a recap in January. Dr. Lavelle said excellent tips. Thank you, Dr. Lavelle. Always happy to have you in this space. For those who are able to join us live, thank you so much. For those who are watching the replay, whether in 2024 or 2025 or beyond, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, remember that the conversations continue. Look out for the blog recap at SerentyResourceConnector.com. You can follow us across social media platforms to get the link for that. And also, there's a WhatsApp channel for those who find that more convenient, where you can access the link for the live forum as well as the blog recap and anything that we are having Serenity Resource Connector. So we can connect you with more resources and other safety tips. Thanks again, and have yourself a fantastic rest of the night. This is not it for this space for 2024. We have Community Corner coming up for next Thursday, so stay tuned for that and be sure to share the link. Thanks again, officers, and for those who are able to join us live. Have a fantastic rest of the night.
Thank you. All the best to you, Mrs. Witter. Enjoy the holidays.
You too.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Young, all the best.
All the best to you, gentlemen. Miss Witter, all the best.
Yes. Thank you.
You and your family. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.